Thank you, Mohammed. Our next speaker is Heloísa Gaspar. She's also from Brazil. She's a specialist in pediatrics and intensive care and clinical manager of the Home Doctor Group, which is a Brazilian private home care provider. Please.
Thank you, Claudio. Hi everyone, good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for the opportunity to speak at such an important meeting like this. And I want to apologize in advance for any English mistakes I might make throughout this presentation. So I'm going to talk about the medication review performed by a clinical pharmacist in the moment of the transition of care from hospital to home. So as an introduction, it's important to emphasize that the patient safety is one of the most important components of healthcare. And we know that there are millions of people injured or killed annually as a result of healthcare. And it has a great impact on care and on quality of care and also in finances as well. So since the main therapeutic tool for a large number of illnesses is the medication's prescription, it's expected that adverse events that are drug-related are also prevalent, but surprisingly, it corresponded to 30% or more of all of the adverse events. So that's why it's a big issue, and that's why ensuring safe medication use is a key component of the patient safety. Given the importance of this subject, in 2017, the WHO launched the campaign Medication Without Harm, with the aim to reduce by 50% the preventable and severe adverse events. So here I leave the QR code to access these interesting materials. And in this campaign, they pointed 3 important points of attention. The first one, the high-risk situation. The second one, the polypharmacy. And the third one, the transition of care. And transition of care is a non-risky moment because, as you can see in these images, there are great modifications of the medications in use during a hospital stay. So the moment of the discharge and the change of the location of care from hospital to home is a sensitive moment, especially in models of care like the Brazilian model, where the team that take care of the patient at home is different from the hospital staff. So communications failure during this moment can lead to a great number of medications errors, and that's why it's important for us to establish barriers to minimize this risk, and that's why clinical pharmacists can play an important role in this process. So, as a demonstration of the importance of this subject, we can see a growing number of publications about it in the last 5 years. Unfortunately, the most frequent of these publications are from hospital team and from community team, and fewer from teams of home care or hospital at home. But there are some good publications from home care, like this one from Switzerland, that demonstrate the medications-related problem during this transfer from hospital to home, like the discharge medication prescription was unclear, there were no reconciliation, potentially inappropriated medication, contraindicated drugs, duplications, and also interactions. And we also know that there are some good publications coming from hospital at home, like this systematic review that had its study protocol already published, and it has Sophie, like first author of this work. So it's good to see that Sophie is working on it. It's an important issue, and we are looking forward to see it soon. And now I'm going to show a little bit of our work in Brazil about this issue. So like I said before, we have different teams at home and hospital. So we have a process for the discharge and this change the location of care. This process has some steps. The first of all, the home team go to the hospital and perform a clinical evaluation of the patients. and then they come back to the company and realize the first medical prescription of the patient in our electronic medical system. And just after that, the medications and the prescription will be sent to the patient's home. So we insert a new step in this process, the step 3, that consists in the medication review by the clinical pharmacist. So the clinical pharmacist performed the medication review and make some suggestions to improve the quality of the prescriptions. These suggestions were categorized in 10 groups: dosage forms, dosage preparation, route, reconciliation, risk of falls, instruction of use, standardization, scheduling, and also pharmacovigilance. So, as a result, during the period of the study, 1 year was the period of the study, the clinical pharmacist analyzed 2,546 prescriptions. Of these, 16% from children, 29% from adults, and 54% from elderly. And here we are talking from acute patients and also chronic patients. Like you can see in these two graphs, we are talking about a high-risk population, since 58% of them were using polypharmacy in the moment of the admission, with more than 6 drugs in use, and 31% was using more than 15 drugs in the moment of the admission at home. We had also a frequent use of high-risk medication, would happen in 10% of the cases. So of these, a little bit more than 2,500 of prescription revisited by the clinical pharmacist, 73% of them had some kind of adjustment. The most frequent reason for this adjustment were related to the dosage forms. It corresponds to 37% of the cases. And here is the need to adjustment the pharmaceutical form of the drug, like switching between pills and solutions, adjustment the concentration of the drug to facilitate the use to the patient and increase the adherence. The second reason was route, 12%, and here is the need to adjustment the drug according to the route of administration. For example, slow-release medications that cannot be macerated or crushed to be administered by an enteral device, so the drug has to be adjustment. And the third reason, 10% of the cases, is related to reconciliations, where there were discrepancies between the patient's usual medication and the medical list of the discharge and the admission at home. The other reasons were less frequent, above 10%, but all of them together corresponded to 73% of the prescriptions needing some kind of adjustment. So we conclude that the medication review performed by the clinical pharmacist resulted in adjustment in almost 75% of the prescription, which is a very high number, and that can build improvements in the patient's care. For us, it triggered some initiatives like the elaboration of a manual, a pharmacotherapical manual, containing all the recommendations about preparations, dilutions, instructions, routes of administration. Also some educational initiatives with the team of doctors and nurses, and adjustments on the electronic medical record system to increase the prescription save and increase the patient save for sure. So like I said in the beginning, I'm a medical doctor and I'm here representing this team, this clinical pharmacy team of Home Doctor. So I would like to edit this presentation, thanking and recognizing their incredible job. Thank you.
Thank you. Obrigado, Heloísa. So